Can you really achieve financial freedom in less than 4 years? Well, welcome to this week's podcast. First off, Happy New Year. You are probably watching this in the new year. I am still in 2022, but I had to record a video prior to the changing of the year, or else we would not have a video for the beginning of the year. And so, Happy New Year to you. I hope you have a wonderful year. And to kick things off, I think there's no more perfect topic that applies to pretty much everyone than the topic of financial freedom. Is it this the year that you're gonna really make the commitments, the decisions necessary to achieve whatever it takes, to do whatever it takes to achieve whatever you want, to do what others are not willing to do so that you can have what others will never have? Well, if that's the case, then you are at the right spot. My name is Thomas, as you probably know already, and today I'm going to be covering how I personally achieved financial freedom in less than 4 years. Now, first off, we have to define what financial freedom is, because it's a different thing for different people. And so I'll explain what it means for me. I'll explain what it means for what I understand from financial freedom. So if you live in New York, you'll probably need to have at least $5,000 to $10,000 in passive income every month for you to consider yourself financially capable of not living like a bum. If you live in Nigeria, then with $200 you can probably call yourself financially free, because probably the average monthly wage is lower than that, and so it varies from country to country. Now, I want to be very clear on this point, which is that I spend more than my passive income actually is. So to some people's definition, I'm actually not financially free, but that's because I'm still playing the game. I'm running a company. That's how I accumulated most of the money I have. I am comfortably in a position right now where I'm not a millionaire, but I do have several hundreds of thousands of euros that I've accumulated over several years. In this case, I really started my company 4 years ago, and so this is really the dividends from working hard at building a company. I'm talking about active income right here, and I've used that money to build myself a nice, I won't call it enough to live like I like to live and like I want to live, but enough for me to call myself somebody that built more than the average wage in the country. For the purpose of this video, it would be very weird for me to say all this stuff and not actually say what numbers I'm referring to. So for the sake of the video, in terms of distributions, and that's why I started the topic by this, because for most people around not most people, but for the people in the G7 countries, this might not actually be enough for you to consider yourself financially free. And I don't think you should stop working and should stop building just because you are quote-unquote financially free. But the amount of distributions that I get every month, the dividend distributions that I get, are in the amount of roughly 1,000 euros. $1,000, it's the last one I got, I think it was something like $980. So that's my monthly passive income. And you're probably wondering, that's why I started this, because you're probably thinking, wait, so you're not rich, but financially free, you aren't rich? No. Financial freedom means you have more money than it takes to live in the place you are. At least that's how I define it. And so, in terms of that, I've done that. In terms of the average wage in Portugal, I think the average wage in Portugal is 900 euros, something like that, roughly $900. And so I've surpassed that. Is that enough for someone to live decently? I do not believe so. That's my honest opinion. I mean, you can live, but that's not really if your ultimate goal in life is to live with $900 a month, then that's a really shitty goal. But it's enough to get you on a place where you have what some people refer to as the FU money, which basically means that if you really don't want to do that, if you really don't want to take a job, if you really don't want to do whatever is necessary for you to get paid that month, you don't have to, because there's enough money to cover whatever expenses you may have. Or at least if you downsize a bit, you'll have enough to cover it. And so I'm starting with this because I want to make very clear, I'm not a billionaire, I'm not even a millionaire, although I'm close, but not there already. So you're taking advice from someone that actually built a decent passive income. I'm proud of it. I'm very proud of it, actually, because I'm pretty young, as you can see. I'm 23 or 22 right now. I'm going to be 23 in 4 months, and so that's sweet for me to say. Feel like a child saying this, but yeah, I've been able to accumulate some money over the last few years, and I'm going to share with you some tips that worked for me. This is not necessarily what is the best path for everyone, but I'll tell you what I did, and I think it will help you, at least if you're in a point right now. And that's the cool thing about releasing this on the new year. If you're watching this, you're probably watching this and you're you have had some time to think about the decisions you're doing and the goals you want to take on and the things you want to achieve. If that's your case, then I'm gonna suggest you take a really 360 approach, and more of an overview than really just this as a tutorial, and really think about what you want and what you need to get there. Because the things that I'm going to share with you are really the step-by-step on how I did it and how anyone can do it. Like, this is not rocket science to become a billionaire. I don't think everyone can do it. I think most people will never be able to do it, even if they really want it, because it really takes some kind of genius, some kind of really extraordinary abilities. When it comes to being a millionaire, that's ridiculously easy. Like, I know it sounds kind of bragging, because you're probably watching me and you're thinking like, oh yeah, but you got it all figured out already, so it's easy for you to say. But that's not the case. Like, I really started like the early 2019. I really had pretty much no money, so I went from like pretty much no money to a reasonable amount of money in a short period of time. So I'm a living proof that if you put in the work and if you actually do what others are not willing to do, you really will get what others will never have. And so that's my take on it. You may not like my style, but that's how I roll. And so I'm going to share with you the main things I did that allowed me to build a decent passive income, and the things that I believe can help anyone easily achieve financial freedom in a short span of time. Because it's important to be aggressively patient. Most people think, oh, I don't need to wait for tomorrow because I got paid today, and so they sacrifice the future. And then there are the other half of the people which think they're so smart because I'm just waiting, I'm getting every penny I invested into my index fund, and I just keep waiting. One day I'll be rich. Like, none of these approaches work. And most people think the second approach is the great approach and the first one is the bad approach. No, both approaches are stupid. Both of these approaches will never get you wealthy. They will get you, this one will get you to be middle class forever. This one will get you to be broke forever. If you really want to achieve greatness, you need to do what others are not willing to do, and you need to actually do the hard stuff that puts money on the table, not just the cool stuff about clicking buttons and watching YouTube videos and thinking long term per se. Because thinking long term is actually doing long term. You cannot achieve things long term if you don't do the actions. Thinking about the long term will not increase your cash flow. Doing will. And so the first thing you gotta do, and this is really probably the most important tip for anyone starting off, it's to choose very carefully what boat you're in. Because many people want to optimize little things and invest in these, and where should I invest in, blah, blah, blah. And like the main thing you should be looking at is not what you're investing in, is why are you working at the shopping mall? Why are you still working at the gym you've been working at for 7 years? Why are you still driving a cab? And these are the questions that people don't want to ask because they don't want to seem offensive. And people themselves don't want to ask themselves this because they don't want to feel bad. But I'm this Portuguese kind of immigrant, kind of not immigrant, because I'm actually living in Portugal. So this weird dude, so I don't really feel bad about asking this. And I'm going to ask you, why are you still in the position you're at? If you're watching this, you're probably not satisfied with where you are, or else you wouldn't be watching this. And so I gotta ask you, why are you not making 2, 3, 5 times, 10 times more money? And many people answer, it's because I want to be happy. And my question is again very, very simple. Are you really going to be happier in the long term if you sacrifice your future? I don't think so. That doesn't really make sense. And we're back to this argument. Like, you do not need to, like, you cannot live in the future and think the future is going to be great because you think a lot about the future. You got to do in the present to get the good future. And so if you start doing now, if you choose an activity, a vehicle that's going to give you the most amount of money possible in the next 12 months, if you think about it like this, and this is the way I thought about it initially, it's still the way I think about it when running my company. It's really the best way I found, at least for me, it's worked for me in terms of how to allocate my resources, make my decisions, and allocate my time, which is always ask myself, what are the activities that would generate the most possible amount of profit in the next 12 months? All right, it's not this month, it's not in the next 3 months, it's not in the next 10 years, it's in the next 12 months. And some people will say this is short-sighted, some people will say this is too long-term. My take on it is that this is the sweet spot, because if you think too long-term, you will be more about theory than actually doing. You're going to be hiding on the future because you're so far out that you can't actually tell whether your actions are contributing or not. On the other side, if you're always working for the next month, then you're going to find opportunities that this month are quite profitable, but then you're going to be 2 or 3 months looking for another opportunity because you're just skipping ship and looking for the shiny object every single fucking month. And so my sorry about that. So my opinion is very simple, which is that you should be striving to find a vehicle that's going to make you the most amount of money possible in the next 12 months. And usually when you find this, something that works for 12 months will usually work for 36, for 48, for 5 years, for 10 years, for whatever. But if it doesn't, at least you got paid. And it's important to make that distinction and to underline that point. And so the ways you think about this, if you are starting a business, if you are an entrepreneurial guy, the way you go about it is very simple. What is my skill set? What are the things that I can learn that I would have some, I don't want to say passion because I hate that concept. I don't think passion is the way you start. You maybe once you have $100 million, you can start being passionate about things. I think if you're trying to put your seed money together, you don't need passion. You need to work hard. That's what you need. And so the best way to get started is really to look around and see what is your skill set. What things can you do that other people just like you did and did successfully? Like, what other people do you know that have made millions or tens of millions with a similar skill set as you when you started out? Are there farmers that made several millions during the last few years? There are, all right. Do they have 2 hands? They do. They do have a head? They do. Do they have formal education? They probably don't. Many of them, most of them. So why can't you do what they did? And that's an interesting question, because you probably can. And if you can, then you must. You should stop what you're doing and you should start to chase the opportunity that's more profitable than the one you have right now. And now the other question comes for the people with jobs. If you have a job, you're probably wondering to yourself and saying, oh, but I can't because I have this responsibility and I have X and I have Y and I have all these problems. It's all very complicated. And my question is why can't you just stack work on top of work? And so if you're looking for a better opportunity, what other opportunities can you perform at your current job without violating your contract that will also get you paid? And what other activities could you do in place of your job that you are certain you could find a job like that? Like, for example, just networking with the people you know and asking if they got an opening for a job that's better paid, whatever, or just accumulate some money doing your current job and then just take the leap and go to a better thing. Like, when I say better thing, I don't mean just shop around what you're doing for a slight 10% salary increase. That's my main point here. Like, when I say optimize for maximum profit on the next 12 months, what I mean is whatever it takes to really significantly improve your revenue, in this case not revenue, your salary, your earnings, whatever is it, salary, it's revenue from your business, it's profits, it's distributions, whatever it is. You have to choose a vehicle that can add a zero to your income. And so if you're making $1,000, you can think about 1,100 or 1,100 or 1,200. You gotta think about, how do I go from 1,000 to 10,000? How do I go from 2,000 to 20,000? That's the way you think about it. And that's the way you take big leaps forward. That's really the only way you achieve big things. If you start in terms of zeros, and not in terms of 5% and 10%, because you'll never get anywhere if you just keep adding 1% forever, unless you live until 200 years old. And that is a very important point to make, which is that people are not candles. And so you can, if you are doing investments, it's a terrible fucking idea to invest in something that has a risk to not pay off and to lose your principal, to lose your money. That would be absolutely crazy to do. But it's important to underline that if you are working with intensity, if you're just pushing hard, then there's no risk associated with it. And so if you do something, if you try to add a zero to your income and you don't do it, nothing happens. There's no downside. There's only upside. It's insane to me how people don't actually try to significantly change their condition just because they believe it won't work. If you believe it won't work, and it still makes sense to try, then you should try, even if you believe it won't work, because it makes sense. It makes total logical sense for you to try. And maybe you'll be surprised. I mean, every successful entrepreneur, every successful person that I've met, entrepreneur or not, that was really earning a ridiculous amount of money, was almost as surprised as the people around them that they actually got to that point. Every single one I've met so far. And they're humble people that just learned the game and kept doing what worked. And so you don't need to be fancy about this stuff. You just need to identify what opportunity is already paying people that have a similar skill set to you, and just go do that. As simple as that. It's so miraculously simple that I can't even understand how some people don't do it. Now, if you're watching this, you probably either you understood that concept, or you are already doing this. So once you are in the right vehicle, then what should you do? Well, it's very simple. Now you should really dive into it. And so if you already identified the opportunity, if you're going to be a programmer, if you're going to be a shipbuilder, whatever, if you found the opportunity, this is something that you can tolerate for the next few decades. And it's something, and by the way, I am saying next few decades because just because you have enough money to not work, that doesn't mean you should not work. That's a decision. It's up to you. I will not tell you whether it's right or wrong. But I personally, I would never have fun just living like a small person with a small passive income. Like that would not be the definition of fun for me. And so I will not advise you to take that path as well. If you do, you can. But if not, then you should really strive to choose something that's really profitable and that you can tolerate for a long period of time, because struggle will come and hard times will come, and only if you can actually tolerate whatever you're doing. Once again, I am not saying loving it, but you gotta tolerate it. If you don't, it's really gonna be a terrible journey and may not be worth it. And so don't choose what you love, but choose something you at least like a little bit. And once you do that, as I was saying, once you choose your opportunity and you say to yourself, I'm going to stick to this, whether it's good or whether it's bad, I'm going to stick to this opportunity and I'm going to make it work, then it's time to really learn everything about this. Learn everything you can from the people that have been successful at it. And this is something, once again, it boggles my mind. It completely shocks me how so many people have jobs, so many people have businesses, and they don't actively try to get better at their business, at their job, and they've been doing the same thing for like 30 years, and they never actually went to a bookstore and read a book on their job. And if you're watching this and you are this person, you know what I'm talking about. You expect your employer to actually hand you out the training, and you don't even want to do the training he gives you, and you think you're doing him a favor. No, you're not doing him a favor. He's doing you a favor. He's trying to increase your market value. It's insane that you don't try to increase your market value yourself. If you already chose the activity, the job, the business, the vehicle, whatever you want to call it, that you're gonna go use to achieve financial freedom, then now it's the time to really learn how to drive that as fast as possible. And so if you are doing an activity where other people around you are not actively learning, you can easily become the best one. And that's what I really mean when say learn everything about it, is you want to perform, now that you chose your vehicle, you want to perform better than everybody else at the vehicle. And you're gonna take it so seriously that it is unreasonable for you to not earn more than everybody around you. And so if you chose your vehicle correctly, and there are people making money that you would be satisfied with and that you consider a decent earning, a decent revenue, whatever number makes you happy. If it's $10,000, it's 10,000. If it's 100,000, it's 100,000. There's people making $1 million a month, so $1 million a month, why not? But if there's other people doing the working on the same vehicle as you are, driving the same vehicle as you are per se, and earning that kind of money, then if you learn everything that they know and you push as hard as they do, and you are as strategical, you work as hard, as smart as they do, then it's unreasonable to think that you will not get the same results as them. And so once you finally get there, this is the cool part. Now this is the part where you actually understand that you'll actually see why I say this kind of thing, and you come to the conclusion that I actually know what I'm saying, is that this is the part where most people completely fuck this up. Because now that you are on the track to accomplish your business, your mission, what most people end up doing is they end up screwing themselves out of the thing that worked. And they're doing certain activities, they're finally making some money, and now, for some reason, their brain just, instead of saying like, we're getting momentum, it's time to put the foot on the pedal, usually what people do is the opposite. It's like, oh, I've got more money, I'm gonna move to a nicer house, or I'm gonna take a day off. Now Fridays or Wednesdays is my day off. Or I'm just gonna start doing a side gig as well because Uncle Joey showed me that he can also flip cars on the side. It's gonna be work. It's gonna be awesome. And so what people do is they start because they get bored. The business is really starting to get tough, or they're starting to get lonely in the craft. They start looking for outs, and they start basically building their life, their business around their life. Like, I want to do this, and then like the business or the job just kind of comes in part of the life, right? My life and the job just kind of comes here. Like, this is not the way you get successful and you achieve financial freedom in a fast pace. The way you get there is to really plan your life around the mission. It's not the mission comes somewhere in your life, it's the life is planned around the mission. You can have the friends, you can have the girlfriends, you can have the money, you can have the parties. You just have to plan it around the mission. You cannot plan it, you cannot make the mission secondary. The mission is the main thing. The main thing needs to keep the main thing. And if something is detracting attention from it, you gotta move it aside or remove it. You don't need to completely shut off distractions, but you need to make sure that you are not messing up this very fragile thing you built, which is that a certain level of success. Because if you get there, and if you have gotten there, if you're one of the few people that have got them there and screwed up, like, you know how friggin' hard it is to get there. And so it's insane once you get there that you just let it go because you are getting either bored, because you feel like you can't take the pressure of the business anymore, or just because you are feeling like lonely, or because you're having a struggle with the IRS, or with some competitor that wants to sue you, or some ex-worker stole from you, or some stuff like that. Stuff happens. Roll with it. Just roll with it. Someone screwed you. You just double down. You're gonna get so big that it doesn't even bother you the amount of money someone took from you. Like, that's how you gotta process the things. And if you keep pushing and you keep shoving, even though things are hard, then your competitors and the people around you will probably crumble, and eventually you'll become the most mature player in your industry or in your company, because you were the one that, even though the same struggles that took down the others hit you, you are still going forward, and you did not give up. And because of that, you are now one of the few that actually proved themselves to be worthy of whatever income you are making. And so that's the way you keep it. And now we're gonna move to a very cool part, which is the keep it part. As I said, you are now earning some money and you have not fucked it up. And so now you probably have some money. Hopefully you have over $100,000. If not, I'm gonna just make a quick disclaimer here, because we're talking, like, this is a number I don't really negotiate with. Even if you're watching from Nigeria, if you're watching from New York, whatever place you're watching, this is something I don't really negotiate, because it should probably be higher, but just for simplicity's sake I use this number. But if you don't have, like, if you're working and things are going fine, blah blah blah, and you don't have $100,000 saved up, you are still not in a position good enough to start investing in whatever things, because that's gonna be a waste of your time, and it's probably gonna be a waste of your money. Because if you don't have enough money to take investing seriously, to really make a difference on your life, then you are not gonna do the research and the work necessary to really yield you the protection and the returns you need on your investments. To use your money like it's just a piggy bank. You just push it to stuff that throws you cash flow in dividends, and you don't even need to worry about the principal. That's just stupid, and it's a terrible idea, because eventually you're gonna be running out of principal if you don't do your investments well. And so my first advice would be, if you don't have $100,000 saved up, you are still not in a position to take your foot off the gas. You should still be increasing your earning potential, unless it's your first month actually doing well, and it shouldn't be. So if you don't have that amount of money saved up, you gotta reconsider what opportunity you're at. And some people will probably look at this and say, oh, but I'm in a place, I'm in a country, I'm in a city, whatever, where there's no opportunities, there's nothing to do. It's very hard. You don't understand. I actually do understand, because as I said, I came from a country where the average wage is $900 a month. All right, there are countries where the average monthly wage is higher than the average yearly wage in the country I come from. And so if you tell me I don't understand, I actually do, because when I started my business, I got on a economy flight to the United States of America. I took a economy flight on one way to Los Angeles, to LAX, and I built my business and I started my business there without money, without anything. I had no food to eat, I had no had to sleep. Basically, I really struggled in the beginning. And so if you tell me, oh, but you don't understand, I'm from somewhere else, it's very simple. The solution, you just move, you just do whatever it takes. That's what whatever it takes mean. And then people say, oh no, but I got all this stuff going on. Exactly. You are not willing to give up what is not working in order to get what is working. And so you cannot blame your circumstances or the people around you. You can only blame yourself. And this is tough. This is what gets me dislikes. But it is the truth. And so if you really want to operate at a high level, if you really want to get and achieve big things, you gotta be willing to do what it takes. It's as simple as that. Like, it seems unreasonable not to be like it is. So that's how it works. And so once you finally get into a position that you now have a few $100,000 to start investing, this is the time, not before this is the time now finally to start building that passive income. Because if you start building the passive income without money, you're just gonna run into problems. It is stupid to expect that you make a lot of money out of your investments without having money to invest. It doesn't make any sense. And so now I'm saying this in a fashion that's not even fun. Like, I'm actually I try to be a very uplifting guy, but I'm just hammering down on these frequent complaints that I've heard over the years, because this is really what I usually get people telling me when I say this kind of stuff. So like, you don't understand, and it's so hard, and I can do it, and not everybody has the same opportunities as you, and blah, blah. It's like, bro, don't you understand? Like, I'm wearing this suit because I bought this suit later on in my life. Like, I started my business, when I started my business with a broken laptop that I lended from a friend. Literally, this is not a joke. Like, my first meetings were with a laptop. It was not broken. It was a shitty laptop, but it was not broken. It was a shitty laptop that a friend had lent me, and a $20 Zara suit, a Zara blazer that I wore everywhere, basically. And I used that blazer really went with me to a lot of meetings, as did the laptop, and that's how I started. And so if you tell me I don't understand, I actually do. I actually understand the reason I probably climbed up the ladder faster than someone that would say that kind of thing is the reason why that is because I actually probably got it harder than 99% of the people saying that I don't understand, because I was in a position where I didn't really have another option. Like, literally, like I got to a point where when I was starting my business in the US, where it was literally either you make money or you don't even have, like, there was not enough money for me to fly away, just so you understand. Like, this is the point where I was. Like, this is not an easy thing to happen. And if you tell me, oh no, but in my country, I'm from Cape Verde, and we don't get visas to the US, well, tough shit. Switzerland. No Switzerlands. Go serve rich people that play golf in Lagos, in Nigeria, in whatever place. There are wealthy people everywhere. Like, just go to the place where the money is. Follow the money, and then do whatever it takes. And then once you finally get some money, you get to the fun part. So I'm going to try to be more uplifting now, because this is really the fun part. Now that you are in a position when you can start investing and then you can start building passive income, the first thing you gotta do is choose what vehicles you want to understand, and go understanding very carefully before you start investing. And so the three vehicles that will probably be your only friends, and so far I've seen they're my only three friends when it comes to investing, is real estate, bonds, and stocks. The other stuff, it sounds really cool. It seems very dangerous. I've seen a lot of people losing the money they invested in assets that are not these three. And if you are thinking to yourself, yeah, I agree with those, and Bitcoin, and investing in startups, and whatever other thing you are doing, I chose these three very carefully, and these are the three I've consistently seen people more successful than me investing in and building. So these really are the three. I don't think you should dabble on stuff outside of this. Like, once you are a really wealthy guy and you know what you're doing way better than I do, then it's probably time for you to start considering outside options, because I only know what I know, and so if you're above $1 million, you probably know stuff that I don't know, and understand stuff about finances that I still don't, or stuff different than me. Not necessarily that I don't, but we probably had different experiences, and so you might have different experience about investments. But in my humble experience, and until you surpass me, I would really recommend you to stick with real estate, bonds, and stocks. Why though? Because these are the asset classes that really tend to hold their value and produce cash flow. So let me break that down. What is a good investment? A good investment is something that holds the value of our investment, so it protects the principal, it protects whatever money you put in. So if you have $500,000 and you put them in whatever investment it is, then you need it to stay $500,000 or either to increase, and so that's the assets protection, the principal protection part of it, and that's absolutely necessary. That's the most important thing. Like if the investment if you believe the investment you're doing has over 1% chance, if you're not 99% confident, at least 99% confident that this investment will never lose your principal, then you should not do it. And this is a tough rule because it excludes basically everything besides real estate, bonds, and stocks. And so obviously you gotta think long term, because if you think short term, everything can go up and down. But historically, companies, real estate, and bonds have been a place where the money went up and down, the values go up and down, but they've never went to zero. And so anything multiplied by zero is zero, and if you invest in something that can go to zero, you risk losing everything you have, and so that's a really shitty idea. But if you have investments that are proven by history to hold capital, then I'm saying stuff that you probably already know. I'm saying stuff that you probably, I saw 1,000 videos already on YouTube explaining this sort of stuff. I understand. I am trying to give you a couple gold nuggets that you might not have seen elsewhere, but the main thing is the main thing. If I'm trying to explain you how to get to financial freedom, I gotta cover this part, which is the real estate, the stocks, and the bonds. But let's get to the more interesting part, which is that now, which one should you start with? Well, if you have some money now and you don't really know about this kind of stuff, the first thing you probably should start with is bonds, just because it's really hard to lose your money with bonds. You got, unless you start lending money to Iraq and to Afghanistan and stuff like that. Like if you buy government bonds from terrorist countries and stuff like that, you may lose your money, but even then they're actually safe compared to most random, like to random stock picking. And so if you buy bonds, by the way, just quick breakdown for those of you that may not know what bonds are. I assume most people here do, but if you don't know what a bond is pretty much when you buy a debt obligation from a country, and so a government of a country commits to paying you whatever amount you lend them plus interest for a fixed amount of time. So you buy a 3% bond for a 10-year period, then for 10 years the government's going to repay you your principal and whatever interest you also are owed when you did the deal. And so bonds are usually an asset class that will not have, they do not have appreciation. They're small instances when they do, but really there's not much appreciation when it comes to bonds. They're not supposed to appreciate. They're a debt instrument, and so you're supposed to get your money back, and unless you sell them early, you're not gonna get any appreciation. And so it's pretty much a contract saying that I'm gonna lend you $100,000 and you're gonna pay me my money back plus $1,000 every month, and that's how you get your cash flow. Then there's the stocks. Obviously, you know what stocks are, and real estate. And so all of these asset classes produce cash flow, which is the other obligatory thing that you need in an investment. It has to hold your capital. All right, it's got to be a safe spot to put your capital in, but it also has to produce cash flow. And so that's the reason why I don't consider gold an investment, or at least a productive investment. It's an investment, but it doesn't fall into these categories because gold does not produce cash flow. Bitcoins do not produce cash flow. Gym plates do not produce cash flow. They're useful. They can appreciate over time, and usually do, but they appreciate with inflation. They do not appreciate because they became productive. They are not productive. They are non-productive assets. They do not generate money. They do not spit out cash flow. And if it doesn't cash flow, you say no. That's the main thing I'm getting here. So now that you have some money to invest, you gotta focus on what produces cash flow and will for sure not lose me my money. And those are the three things you usually have when when you're trying to invest some money. And now that you have seen the three vehicles, you gotta choose what should you do in order to you gotta create your own checklist to what things you look for in order to make an investment. Now I'm going to give you a great tip. Man, wow, yeah, this is late. All right, I'm basically without sleep I went basically without sleep for 2 days now. Yesterday was a holiday, so I went in early. I stayed up to Friday, which is today, and so I'm not being super coherent. I apologize about that, but what I'm trying to say is, you choose a vehicle, so you collect money, you learn how to maximize. You maximize and learn how to collect the most money possible every year. And then once you're good at that, you just keep it. All right? Do not spend money. Do not screw up. Just keep pushing that money aside, just putting money aside. And once you have a few $100,000, once you have $100,000 or a bit more, you start investing. And now you just gotta find something that will not lose you money, that will not risk you losing your principal, your main investment, your first investment, the money you put in, and that also is productive, so it generates cash flow on top of holding the value of the investment you made. And once you find this, you just gotta keep pushing more money aside and let it grow. So if you're trying to decide how you should invest, I've also made a video. So the first episode of this podcast, which is, I'm not sure it is a podcast, I'm not even sure actually what a podcast is, but I have one, so I'm knowledgeable about it apparently. And so the first episode of this podcast, which was, I guarantee you, it was much better than this one. I'm not sure this is gonna get any views because I've been rambling and mumbling and not saying very useful stuff on the large part of this podcast, but on this episode. But on the first episode, I actually gave a lot of tips on how you can invest productively and how you can make more money by investing carefully in things that hold their value and produce cash flow. And so if you, you will get there. Like, that's something, that's one belief that I have, that if you do not quit, you cannot fail. Like, if you give it your all and you do not quit, whatever happens, it is impossible for you to fail. And I've never met somebody that did not have the potential necessary to get to this kind of stuff, to get to $1 million, to get to the six-pack, to get to the hot girl, whatever. There's no person that does not have enough potential, at least I haven't met that person yet, that does not have the necessary potential to achieve this kind of stuff. And so if you don't do it, it's because you did not give it your all. Like, if you really give it your all, and you don't quit, you cannot fail. Literally. That's as simple as it gets. And so once you get to these kind of numbers, once you have a few 100,000, a few million maybe, then you just keep pushing this into the cash flow producing assets that will hold your capital, and you will have achieved financial freedom. Depending on the place you're watching this from, you may need a few $1 million to achieve financial freedom. If you were lucky enough to be born in a second world country like me, you may be able to earn more than your fellow countrymen with just a few 100,000, or in this case several 100,000. But if you're in Portugal with $700,000, $800,000, you can easily make more money than most people working here. So it's I won't say a blessing, but at least the barrier of entry is lower. But whatever game you started at, just remember that you are a citizen of the world, and once you understand the concepts I'm talking about, your competition is not the guys in China, it's not the place you were born in, it's the world. And so it's inspiring and threatening, and it's really big, and the game is really big, the game is really fun. You just keep stacking chips. Life starts when you get to $10,000 a month and you just have more chips coming in that you are necessarily having to put out. All right? This was very confusing, but hopefully a few useful things came up, and I hope you have taken at least some value from this. If you did, please leave a thumbs up to this video, subscribe, and I hope you have a wonderful year. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the next video.